The first time we introduced our next guest was on Flight 52 Race, Fly, Build. That is where we had the privilege to hear about Jon Gruber's journey in aviation and how he began the adventure of building his very own custom Lancair Legacy kit number 120. We again spoke to Jon on Flight 57, Fabrications and the Magenta Line, where he updated us on his progress of the build. Today, he's back to update us on the latest and explain how chronicling his work on his Instagram page at Lancair_Legacy has become a personal love letter to the aircraft. From his hangar at the Aurora Airport in Aurora, Illinois. Please help us in welcoming back to the show, Mr. Jon Gruber. Jon, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad to be back.
Oh, glad to have you back, and great to see you. It's been a while since we were able to see each other here on via the Zoom, and we've been tracking your progress with the airplane. Some of the most meticulous and professional work I have ever seen. I can only imagine if I were in a position to build an airplane, I could only hope that I would do such a finite, detailed job as you've been doing. So congratulations. Great work.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's obviously learning as I go and taking that skills and applying it to the next project and the next, and it's keeping me on my toes, and obviously perfection is what I'm trying to get or attain, or getting as close as I can to it. So it's keeping me busy.
Yeah, and maybe when it's all said and done, I think a documentary is in order, because you have footage,
Yeah, National Geographic and Discovery Channel have been talking to me, so we're working through it. Contracts, it's a real pain.
Yeah, you have to get the agents on that, right?
Exactly.
So how have you been? Scheduling. We've had pandemic issues. Last time we were talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the last time we discussed things that were starting to, they were picking up, and, being on reserve at the time, just extremely busy, and the operation just not running smoothly because, of course, the demand came up much faster than expected, and therefore our operation wasn't able to handle it. Pilots included. So a lot of pressure was put on us as the pilots to kind of pick up some slack here and there. So I was working to my days off most of the months in the summer. And it became frustrating, but that's part of the job. That's what we do for a living. But fortunately, the fall schedule's coming in now, and it's starting to. It seems like the airline is starting to get back into its groove, and it's managing. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too. A lot of the flights, there seem to be a little bit smoother in the way things are progressing, but yet we're still having issues. I just read yesterday that a 15-year-old boy punched a flight attendant in the nose, broke their nose, and they had to divert on a flight from JFK to Santa Ana, Orange County. They diverted to Denver, and the articles that you read are kind of varied in the details, but from knowing people that work for that company, for American, it's just, can you imagine a 15-year-old, and for at least that's the information I received, to resort to such violence on an aircraft? Tensions are high, as schedules have been tough. I know there's been a lot of rebooking, and there's been a lot of weather. And for us aviators over at Legacy Airlines, it's been very much the same way. It's been stressful.
Yeah. But to resort to violence, like you said, and what would bring somebody to physically punch a flight attendant or have any sort of physical altercation, it's frustrating, and you hate to see that happen.
Yeah, and it's quite a shame. But you've been out there flying. You were telling me that you got quite a few days off. I could tell, because whenever I see a post on your progress, I know, he's not flying today.
Yeah, if anybody wants to know what my airline schedule is, if I'm working, there isn't a video posted that day. If I'm not flying for Legacy Airlines, then I'm probably posting a video for that day, so when I'm not working.
Yeah, and you've said the flying is kind of been a little bit stressful, and it's changed, and it's starting to get better. How is the Chicago base handling the uptick in the flying?
Well, over the summer, the operation was kind of a mess, and I won't call it a mess. It was always catch up. It was a game of catch up from a pilot standpoint. The schedules and reroutes and things like that, cancellations, diversions, always put a hiccup in anybody's operation. And with my particular schedules, I end up in Central America or the Caribbean islands or Miami quite a bit. So my trips typically start in Chicago and then leave Chicago for the 2 or 3 days. So the Chicago base, or what happens in Chicago while I'm gone, I'm kind of blind to it. I just leave on leg 1, and then leg 6 or 7 at the end of the trip, I come back and say, hey, the city's still standing, so welcome back.
Yeah, it's good. I actually got through Chicago last week, and I got to tell you, there's some thunderstorms that were rolling in, and we left Austin to go up to Chicago, and man, that was some crazy weather. I mean, they had tornado watches south of Chicago and near Peoria, and the approach in 20 years of flying the line, I tell you what, that approach was moderate or greater turbulence, and the captain and I were going back and forth saying, hey man, if this lasts a couple more seconds, we're going to punch out of here. This is just not worth it. Luckily for us, at least, it got significantly better, and we were able to land safely and get everyone to the airport. But man, talk about earning your entire, month's pay in one flight. That was it. So I wanted to talk to you about the build. We've seen the progress. For any of those listeners that follow Jon's Instagram page, it's the best place really to see the videos and the posts. At Lancair_Legacy is where you'll find it. The build some days seems a little bit more frustrating than others. Am I right?
Oh yeah, there's always instances where you do something, I won't say wrong, but there's you do something, and actually having this account has helped me quite a bit, and it keeps me accountable. Every day I do the work, and then I post about it. I put a video, and there's a lot of people much more educated about this stuff than I am, and they'll message me or call me or text me or DM me and just say, hey, I would do it this way, or I really think you shouldn't do it the way you just did. You should probably redo that. And a lot of it's all helpful. It's all people, some things are techniques and just say, oh, well, this is how I would have done it. You did it fine. So yeah, the frustrating part, you spend 6 hours on something, and then you're like, nope, you're right. This other way is better. And I care about the project enough to take it all back apart and do it again the better way. Oh, so yeah, the frustration really only comes from the time wasted. I hate going back and saying, oh man, my time is only so much. So I hate losing a half a day knowing that I screwed something up.
Yeah. Well, it's your first build. And do these Lancair Legacy kits come with instructions like IKEA, or are they more, you're just kind of, you have the general idea of what you need to do, and you just kind of have at it?
I would call it not comprehensive guide. There's certain techniques. There's certain things that have to be done a certain way, and those things are specific. But there's a lot of like doing all the body work and the paint and that kind of stuff. You either learn it or you have somebody who knows how to do it, or you learn how to do it and then you do it on your airplane. So. But there's certain systems like how the ailerons are rigged or how the rudder cables are routed through the airplane. That's pretty set in stone set of instructions, because those, vital things were engineered, designed a certain way. And you comply with those. Now it is an experimental kit, so you can do it any way you want, but there's aeronautical engineers and human factor engineers that design this airplane, and therefore I'd like to design it and build it how it was meant to be.
Okay. And what's been the most challenging part of the build so far?
Well, the challenging part was definitely when I was out in Oregon with all the body work, the sanding, because that's an art form really, because you're sitting there running your hand along a surface that's 6 feet long of the wing, for example, or the side of the fuselage, and you're running your hand along the side trying to find if there's any waves in the bodywork or the paint to do more sanding. So that was a skill I never had, and I'm decent at it now. I can't consider myself a professional, but I had a lot of guidance and help to get me through that portion of the build. Now it's the challenging part now is finishing off a system. I can get a system perfectly to 95%, but that last 5%, not necessarily taking a leap of faith, but getting that final bit of knowledge or that final completion. I mean, I've had my landing gear system ready to swing and power on for probably a month now. I haven't done it because there's so many other things I need to do, but it's getting that confidence to say, all right, I'm going to put hydraulic fluid in this whole system and power it up and see if it works. So it's just kind of the confidence to get those systems going.
Okay. And you've been working on this now, is it almost a year now?
I think so I started the kit in March or April of last year, and COVID has made so I bought it because 2020 was COVID. So yeah, I bought it. So it's been almost a year and a half. In March, it'll be 2 years. Okay.
And your initial timeline, I remember you telling us that you wanted it to be ready for Reno Air Races 2022. Are you still thinking that that's going to be a plausible time frame?
It's probably not. The goal now is to have the airplane in Reno for next year. I probably won't be racing it because there's a lot of other things I have to get through, training, formation flying, sign-offs, and I have to be able to go to pylon racing school in June of next year with it. So I doubt I'll have the airplane ready, flyable, ready to go to pylon racing school in June of next year. So, which is okay. With all the changes from COVID and the schedules coming back and working a lot more for the Legacy airline than I expected to be working, obviously the amount of time I've been able to put into Legacy is less. I'm still doing as adventurous of a timeline as I can, and my body and timeline is willing to do. But I doubt I'll be racing it at Reno here.
Yeah, and I also see from your post that you're spending some time just in the GA community. I see yesterday you were flying the TBM around. I thought that was so cool, and then you sent me photos. Oh yeah, I just picked up a motorcycle, a 900RR, a Honda street bike. Oh my god. So how did that process work?
Yeah,
did you just decide to do this, or was it pre-planned?
It was a little bit of both. A very good friend of mine has a TBM aircraft, and it's actually kind of behind me here. I purchased a motorcycle while I was on an overnight in New York. It was just north of White Plains. I was on LaGuardia overnight. I took a bus to a train and bought the motorcycle, and I had a friend help me take it from his garage to his garage. So the bike was in New Jersey, and I could either have driven 16 hours out there to pick it up and driven 16 hours back, or 13 hours, whatever it is. But I offered to my buddy who owns the TBM, and I said, hey, I got a possible adventure for this airplane. What do you think? And so we did a bunch of measuring of the doors and measuring of the motorcycle, and we're like, oh, I think it's going to work. And so yesterday we flew it out to New Jersey, and I had a friend with a cargo van. We had a ramp and put it in there, and we had to let air out of the front tire to get the motorcycle profile low enough to fit through the door. But it worked. We strapped it down safely. We drained all the gas out of the fuel tank, all that kind of stuff. So, but we had a nice smooth flight there and back. The weather was perfect. It was great.
Nice. Yeah, I thought that was just so, interesting to see the photos, because I thought, man, that's a lot of work. You're gonna have to do all kinds of kind of calculations and weight and balance, and like you said, draining of the flammable fluids and all this thing to make sure it's safe. And wow, the fact that it fit through the door, and you had to let the air out. That's crazy.
It was on the ridiculous level of my life. That's a pretty high one.
That's actually a pretty cool story.
Oh yeah. Well, we had to pull all the chairs out, and we did the weight and balance. It's 400 pounds, and it's just like 2 adult passengers essentially. Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, as far as the airplane was completely capable, we weren't pushing the envelope of the airplane at all, because that airplane will hold 6 passengers, and it was just me, one other guy, and the bike. So it was just the size of the door, and a testament to Cicada. You can now load a motorcycle into your TBM.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you need to have some motorcycle transport service companies going up.
It would cost way more than people are willing to spend.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. It's nice to be connected.
Oh yeah, it helps having friends that want to have some fun.
Yeah. And now, can you show us a little bit about, or show us a little bit of the aircraft behind you?
Yeah, sure. So walk you around. So definitely, you guys didn't see last time that the wings are on now. So got the 2 spar bolts installed there and an alignment bolt there, and just kind of showing a couple things. You've got speed brakes. I'm working on trimming the body work around the speed brakes so it'll sit nice and flush. Part of getting the wings on is getting the fuel tank all cleaned out, because there could be years of dust or debris, or like carbon fiber shavings. So what we actually had to do is I had to dump 5-10 gallons of gas in here, and then flip the wing, shake it around, and then dump the fuel back out. So that was part of the process of that. And then exhaust has come. It's nice and ceramic coated with a really nice finish. So that's looking really good. I've got all my EGT gauges for exhaust gas temperature, CHT for cylinder head temperature, and then I've got kind of working on my spark plug wire routing, things like that. Electrical components are starting to go on the firewall. And then once again, the other wing is on, and something I'm kind of proud of, that the flaps are back on. So I'm starting to get some flight controls operating. So the flaps all work in unison, both sides. So that's kind of an exciting thing for me. And then I can go in the back here in the cargo area where my flap motor is, and that will be hooked up to the flap system soon and operating. And then I don't think my hydraulic system, you can see all the aluminum pipe that I had to bend to get all that looking nice and lined up. And so there's quite a bit that's been happening. And with the wings on, it's nice that it looks like an airplane now. So I think it conforms with the definition of an airplane. It's got a motor and it's got 2 wings. So that's kind of nice to see.
Yeah, and I remember last time we spoke, you were thinking about Porsche green for a paint scheme.
Yeah, yeah. Something. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go a little more. I hate to say mundane, but just simple. That would be a little, brash, I would say.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fantastic that you're able to do this. You have a very supporting spouse that is saying, let's do this now, because once the kids come later on, if that's just going to be one more distraction, and it's just not going to
for people that haven't built or want to build, and I've had people call me and ask me questions. Oh, could I do it? And it's a full-time job. I think I've said it before that, nothing gets done if you're not here, and there's nobody else to do it but you, which is great. I enjoy that. But if you have a spouse, kids, a job, a side hustle, all these things, that takes hours away from building an airplane. So if you want to build a kit, either have a very realistic goal and as in timeline, because I'm even missing my timeline by a little bit, but that's because of work, and which that's okay. But it's involved, and you have to have a support system. You got to have a partner or a spouse that's willing to just say bye for the day. I'm going to go work on the airplane. So that is helpful to have that.
Yeah, very much. And I think that those that they find out the hard way, well, I want to buy an airplane, but their spouse is, they quickly realize that that's not what they want.
Yeah, even owning an airplane, it's not just owning it. You're a part of the process.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just want to say thank you for spending the time with us and showing us your progress on the aircraft. She's beautiful. I really do enjoy the videos, and I feel like, I'm looking forward to each time you post a new video. It's kind of like when I was a kid and I'd go home and look forward to watching This Old House. And now I'm like watching Jon builds airplanes.
Yeah, the kind of the video tracking has been a lot of fun, and I've even used it a couple times in referencing, because obviously I'm taking pictures of a lot of things and trying. I was balancing the rudder the other day, and I was going back through last year's pictures, trying to verify an exact location of an orifice inside the rudder so I could do something. And I was going back looking through a couple of videos, like, oh man, that feels like a lifetime ago. So it's nice that I've done this, and I will humbly say I did this for me. I'm glad of, I did the video log for myself to make sure I, kind of tracked and kept myself accountable, but it's definitely morphed into something that other people have been providing assistance. I've made new friends through this. And I'm glad to share it now. It's not just for me, and I'm realizing that. I'm glad other people are getting enjoyment and learning. And if it gets more people involved in aviation, even one person, I'm happy to have contributed to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can our listeners find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Lancair_Legacy. I also kind of co-post to Facebook, but Instagram's really the main platform. And here probably at some point when I want to monetize this and become a millionaire, I'll go to YouTube and I'll get a million subscribers in a week. So I'm working towards that. But
well, when you find out that secret, please share it with me.
Absolutely.
Well, Jon, thanks again for taking time away from the build and your schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, glad to be here. Thanks. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.